Just before I start my prepared remarks, I just want to say something that occurred to me after we came back from the cemetery. When I went to New Zealand to talk, the Maori community held a sort of a welcome ceremony, and they have a practice whenever they do anything important that they always clear their minds and they think of the ancestors. Down and somebody speaks about it and helps people to recall their ancestry, and they memorize as many generations as they can, you know. I was very much impressed by that, and there was a group of us visitors, and so we were asked to all be quiet and think about our ancestors, and that's a little bit what we did at the cemetery, and I felt so good to be able to say to them, you know, that I could recite my ancestry in the Wolfensberger side for 14 generations. They were very, by name, they were very impressed. So this is a little bit what we did today, you know, reflect and become aware of our ancestors, and how really how wonderful an experience it's been for all of us to do that. And we should do that every few years. Now, so the ancient name of Switzerland is Helvetia, and it's a peculiarly shaped country. If you can't hear me, please come closer, so I don't have to holler. It's a rather peculiar shape, as you can see, and here is Graubünden, which is one of the what ended up being called cantons, also very peculiarly shaped. And in the local various dialects and languages, you know, Graubünden in German, Grischun in the Romansh language, and Grisson in the French, and they all refer to the color gray. The area in and around Graubünden was once called Rhaetia, and it was populated mostly by Celts, and they were then conquered by the Romans and were Latinized. And to this day, a bit of red hair from the Celtic population keeps popping up in the family. This is my grandmother, Johanna Löwit, and you see as a child, she had a reddish tinge to her hair, and we've seen it in other members of our family. Once in a while that you get the red tinge, and that is from some Celtic influence in the family. So it isn't all, likelihood, not all pure Walser Germanic stock, about which I say more later. After the collapse of the Roman Empire, the different parts of Rhaetia became to some degree independent and on and off, you know, and that created a great mythology down to this day, where there's much talk about free Rhaetia, you know, and the three parts of Graubünden eventually combined. Three federations formed. Bund is the federation, and then the three federations federated in turn, and that became the Grey Federation, the Graubünden, and that you know, remained relatively independent, as I said, though it was in friendly alliance with Switzerland until Napoleon came along around 1800 and forced Graubünden to join the Switzerland, the other cantons. the lore of the family Hitz family is that they were Germanic Walser stock. The Walsers were people of the Alemannic tribe that came initially from northern Germany and then settled in Switzerland and Swabia in Alsace after around 500 AD. And those Alemans that settled in the Rhone Valley of Switzerland were called Walser because the Alemans called that valley the Walsertal, the valley of the Welsh, so to speak. And by Welsh they meant those red-headed people. Now in the Middle Ages there was a population explosion of the Alemans in the Walsertal, and they sent forth wave after wave of migration and settlements into all directions, including toward Graubünden and even western Austria. Now Graubünden was then thinly settled when the Walsers were migrating, and it was settled by people that spoke that dialect of Latin that is called Romansch, which is a strange language. I was very surprised when I had a little exposure to it, that it has so much difference to French without the nasality. You know, so if you know French and you could imagine speaking French without talking through your nose, you come somewhat close to the Romansch. And so the Walsers were welcomed by the overlords in Graubünden around early 1200s, and they settled in closed, sprinkled community all over the province. And one of the settlements around 1290 was in Davos, and this is a little bit hard to see. Here's Davos, and up here is Cloisters.
I think the thing has a laser.
Basic point.
The other one.
Red button.
As a what? A pointer?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
It's all things.
You like it.
It's all I can point to the.
He likes the pointers.
And then from Davos, a group migrated to Cloisters, probably several hundred years later. And part of Cloisters, though, was and remained Romansch. And as I talk about more, I don't think we can say 100% certainty that the Hitz were Walsers or pure Walsers. Maybe they were mostly Walsers, but maybe there was quite a bit of intermixing. Now my father's interpretation of the Wolfensberger coat of arms led me into interest in learning more about the coat of arms that my grandmother, Johanna Hitz Löwit, from 1874 to 1957, said was that of the Hitz family. And the only copy of it that he had, as far as I can remember, was painted on a cup. And the cup is now in our possession. And it was part of the tableware used in the Hotel La Collina in Pontresina, and a hotel that was owned by one of the Hitz branches. And my grandparents must have stayed there.
Can you say it again? The hotel what?
The Hotel La Collina in Pontresina.
I think my parents stayed.
What?
I think my parents stayed there, right?
Yeah, oh yeah? And you didn't find one of the cups? That's what I think happened is that my grandparents somehow or other made off or were given one of the cups. And I believe it was one of my siblings in the 1940s that then drew or painted the coat of arms from the cup.
Now, those colors aren't quite true because of the background you're projecting on. They're much lighter.
Well,
Now, at the
right here, so you can see.
at the 2004 reunion of the Hitz family, I met Anna Marie Hitz from Basel, whose parents had owned the hotel. It was but by accident we got into a conversation, and suddenly the whole story came out. And when I began to describe the cup there, she said, "You don't have to tell me, I know all about it," she said. But Martin, she was not in our book. You got
Yes, because she came late.
okay, you got to catch her
She didn't send anything.
and add her to the book.
That's
Still mad at you for
Oh,
stealing.
the one that lives
Right,
in,
right.
is that the one that lives in Basel that we went to see?
It could be, yes.
Does she live in Basel? Does she live in
Who
Basel?
was it?
Why
Wait, who was it?
Anna Maria Hitz
No,
from
it wasn't mine.
Basel.
Yeah,
And
He said
she was
Basel.
from
Yeah.
the Konrad
Yeah.
branch, not from the Hans branch.
But she was very distant to us.
yeah.
Now, based on the research that has been done, one can say 5 general things about the Hitz coat of arms. I'll briefly state them and then I'll elaborate them. First one, I have seen 2 other versions of the Hitz coat of arms. And one of them is right here, where the arrow faces down and the moon faces away from the sun. And in another version, in fact, Martin, the one in our Davos book, the faces have been obliterated. Those faces. So I tell you right here and now, those are all abominations. They are sins against heraldry. They must be obliterated. I'm sorry about this, but there's a beautiful picture, but some artists should redraw it the proper way. So otherwise, we get a distortion of history, you know, and this is how false stories get going and end up as supposedly true history. Secondly, insofar as Swiss families ceased, yes,
Excuse me, I have a question. Do you know where the symbology came from? Why they picked them over?
who just told me?
Linda.
Oh, where is she?
Linda's back here. She just asked.
Yeah, where it come? No, I don't know who. Probably they asked somebody to copy it. It was mindless. And
No, I meant me.
Oh, that's coming. That's coming.
Sun, the moon, the arrow. What are those two? That's what I was.
Yeah.
so anyway, insofar as Swiss families ceased to become ennobled once the different parts of Switzerland gained their independence, it's extremely unlikely that the coat of arms is that of a genuinely older noble family. And one of the reasons, one more reason to believe that is there was a mania in Switzerland for a while for everybody to make their coat of arms or have their coat of arms made. You go into an old farmhouse, you know, with lowly farm family, and they'd have the coat of arms there on the wall. And many of these have very implausible elements that again are violations of the rules of heraldry, which once again suggest that they're not authentic. Thirdly, the symbolism in the shield is very, very profoundly thought out. It's multidimensional, multi-level, subtle. It communicates many, many messages with an amazing economy of symbols, as I will explain. Fourthly, there seem to be several symbols embedded here that allude to Rätia, as you know, Graubünden. And fifthly, once I began to do systematic research on the 3 main symbols, and these are called in heraldry charges. It's charge 1, charge 2, charge 3 in the shield. It became very quickly clear to me about 1989 but clear, but to my astonishment, that these were drawn to a large degree from a combination of the symbols of alchemy, metallurgy, and astrology.
Wow.
Yeah. And from this, you might infer that the Hitz family was involved in alchemy, but that's extremely unlikely that they ever, dabbled in that or practiced it as an occupation. The more likely explanation is that they have been engaged in mining and metallurgy, and by the time the coat of arms was designed, that had been an established fact, and the symbolism of alchemy and metallurgy just lend itself very well to communicating that this is what they were doing, mining and metallurgy. And also, for which ores they were mining, which ones they were seeking in their mining. Now, just a brief orientation now to the known Hitz mining and metallurgy activities. Now, there are two reasons why this story is so much of interest to the Hitz branches, not just in America, but the other Hitz branches, is that it contains hints about the earlier history of the Hitz family, even before Hans the first, and secondly, that the parents of the first American Hitz, and I call him Johann the Elder, or Johann #1, even though there were Johanns before him, but as the first one to come to America, I call him Johann the First, because they came in, 3 generations at the same time, so that so it contains hints of the history of the family that were the common ancestors of Hans the First. Here, see, and here's the common ancestors of our 2 branches, the Konrad and the Hans, and of course over there the so-called Christian branch, of which we don't have anybody here today. And the parents of Hans the First was also a Hans, and his grandfather was a Hans. Yeah. Now, mining had been done in the Alps since prehistoric days, and near Davos, they had been mining since at least 1200. And during and shortly after the Napoleonic Wars that raged until 1815, metals were in high demand. So in either 1805 or 1807, and the histories contradict each other here, 3 entrepreneurs got together and they founded a mining corporation that was called a Bergwerkgesellschaft, a mountain works, it's a name for mining company, and they set out to mine the Silver Berg. Now that very name of that mountain means Silver Mountain. So there was in the folk etymology of that locale an expectation that in that mountain you would find silver. And that was not far from Davos. You remember Klosters, Davos, and you go down a little bit here, and I'll show you a close-up of that. Here's Klosters, here's Davos, and there's a rail line, and you go down that rail line into a little town of Monstein, a little village of Monstein, and here is the Silverberg, right? And there we'll talk about the Schmelzboden. Now the mining started either in 1809 or 1811, according to different sources. And there were 3 entrepreneurs, and they were Carl Ulysses von Sales Marschlands, many Salis branches, and this was one of them. And he was a leading Swiss naturalist. And the second one was Jakob Ulrich von Sprecher, also a naturalist and a prominent politician. And the third was Johann Hitz the Elder. Now the von Salis and the von Sprecher families are known to have played a big role in mining around Davos since before 1618. Got that? Before 1618 they have been mining in that area. Now Hitz Senior was, well, they call him a Landammann, but technically, he was a Statthalter, was a title he had. A Statthalter is, the stadtholder. He's like the vice ruler, of an old title. In essence, the headman, so to speak, of the cloisters. Not of Davos, but of cloisters. And the younger brother of Johann the Elder, just known, his younger brother was Christian Hitz, who was the ancestor of the Conrad branch. He was also a shareholder, and he occupied a very important position in the mine as a Schichtmeister, which means a shift master. And of course, there were many other people who had invested money.
What did you tell me Landammann meant? What did you tell us Landammann meant?
He was a Statthalter.
But you said that was a title, not a name?
That's a title, yeah.
Landammann is also a title.
Yes, so what was the title? What does that mean?
And there were two Statthalters apparently of the cloisters area, which I'll say a little more later. I don't know if by his time whether there were still two, but there had been at one time two. One for the Romansh and one for the Walser part.
But anyway, he was the kind of mayor for a bigger area in the country.
Yeah,
For a district, yeah.
you see, the many old feudal customs going way back, and they're different, like in the Romansh area, they call them podesta, the power holder, I mean the head cheese in essence.
That's the Swiss little badge that you got and I got. So it says Podesta, right? You just said Podesta. Podesta. It says that on the little badge from the Swiss embassy.
It does?
Yes, the one that they
Oh,
make
so
every
that's
year.
the Swiss
National
power that
Day.
be.
Let me make sure about that, but I've
Oh, really? Uh-huh. Well,
Yeah, I've got it too. At
ready?
the visitor's office at the Swiss Embassy.
The most,
Okay, I'm a little wrong. It's
Pro Patria.
close, right?
the most prominent Bünden families for centuries were the von Salis and von Sprecher, von Buol, von Gule, von Planta, von Travers. They were all nobles. And the von Sprecher was chief of staff of the Swiss Army in World War I. For both the von Salis and the von Sprecher to ally themselves with the Hitz tells us that the Hitz family also had some prominence. And of course you know that one of the daughters of Uncle Albert Hitz from one of my grandmother's younger brother. And so his daughter also married a von Salis. So there are all kinds of family interconnections with, practically with all these families. Now the Silverberg mine built its operational base in a part of the Davoser Landwasser, that's the waterway that is called the Landwasser, land water. So in the valley of the Davoser Landwasser, that's called Hoffnungsau. Hoffnungsau, loosely translated, Hope Meadow. Hope Meadow. And part of that area had long been called also Schmil. Oh, where did you come from? Schmelzboden. No, you here. Sorry.
Sorry.
Schmelzboden, and that means melting bottom, melting grounds, because that is where some of the smelting was done of the ore. And the mine itself was called Neue Hoffnung, meaning new hope. To distinguish it from earlier mining had been done there, that was the old hope, you see, so to speak. And this is what the valley bottom looked like when the mine was operational. And notice how they had denuded the mountains from all the wood, because the wood was needed both to uphold the mines and also to fire the furnaces for the smelting. And those of you who burned up both, you remember we gathered here in this place, and then the group went up the mountain that way more or less. Now all that's left today is the front half of this building. The rest got swept away by an avalanche.
Oh, wow.
That's
what happens when you take down all the trees.
The front yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Serves him right.
Yeah.
He's taking notes.
Oh, he knows
Absolutely
more
right.
names.
Involved in the lecture. 5 years from now.
And this is where the today, that's a fun part that's left.
Oh, yeah.
And that is where the Silverberg Mining Museum is now. And here we are, see, being gathered. And listen, American cousins. John Hitz the third was born in this building. John Hitz III was born in this building. The Hitzes lived at the Schmelzboden. You see? Now,
But now
mining.
there's a little area right near Cloisters after you go over the mountain before you get into Cloisters. It is called Schmelzboden.
See, it's probably from another mine,
Oh, a different.
probably, or from or I'll come to that, or from ore processing that they did there. Now, mining apparently didn't start until 1809. After when you form your Berggesellschaft, you need time to get all things going, And that was unfortunate because then the Napoleonic Wars ended in 1815, and suddenly the metal prices shrunk, a lot of foreign competition, and the Silverberg became unprofitable. That's when in 1818, the von Sales and the von Sprecher, they were a little more sophisticated, and probably, they'd been in the business for many hundreds of years. They folded their cards and pulled out. And old Johann I didn't. He went on and he carried on alone, and he erected a zinc oven, in Cloisters in 1816. And maybe that's what the Schmelzofen in Cloisters, Schmelzboden in Cloisters is. And he also erected one in Bella Luna, south of Philistore, not too far south from here, in 1821, because apparently there wasn't any fuel left to burn, and he had to take his ore somewhere where there was more fuel. And also, they used to send the ore as far as the Tyrol to process, and that was so costly. So you wanted to have ore processing as close to possible, as close as possible to the mine. He also sent metal to a metal rolling works in Chur that the corporation owned there. And a little bit of mystery, why Chur? whether this also had to do with availability of wood fuel or what. Now, being able to make money only intermittently from the Silverberg, especially between 1818 and 1821, Hitz began to also mine in Charles. Now, he had acquired the mining rights before that, didn't do anything with it, and then when Silverberg went sour, he moved his mining operation to Charles, which is in the Engadine Valley, and there he mined from 1818 to 1829. Now, Charles is, which is a Romansh word, is at the end of the world.
It is like a good point there.
You go here from Davos, and you have to go this difficult pass, Mühle Pass. You have to go down here. That's the Inn River that ends up in Austria. The Inn River. You come to Schul, a Romansh town, and then you have to go up this valley, which goes up and up and up and up.
And you think you're lost?
And it's a
You think
road
you're
that
nowhere.
to this day is not a good road. And